Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal podcast. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal are getting closer to getting a new sporting director. The list of candidates is now becoming narrower and narrower. One of the candidates there is Luis Ocampos. But in today's video, we are going to talk about a man that has very close links to Alexander Isak. And that guy is leading the race to join Arsenal as the next sporting director, and one of his first moves could be bringing Alexander Isak to Arsenal. Of course, Mikel Arteta has made it very clear that Victor Gyökeres is not the guy that he wants. He doesn't play in that style that we play at Arsenal, according to Mikel Arteta. So it looks like Arteta is influencing the decision for a new sporting director, and this guy must have connections to Alexander Isak. Who are we talking about? We are talking about Roberto Olabe, the sporting director at Real Sociedad. He will be ending his career with Real Sociedad this summer. Now, we don't know whether Arsenal can get him as early as January, as early as December. We'll get to know about that. But I think the big part and what we have to understand about Roberto Olabe is that he has done a lot of work around Alexander Isak before, while signing him for Real Sociedad. He's got contacts on Isak, and he could be a vital part of Isak joining Arsenal. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. We've already talked about Isak on the channel and Gyökeres on the channel as well. Mikel Arteta prefers Isak to Victor Gyökeres, but to get Isak, that is not going to be easy. That's going to take, and that's going to require a sporting director that has really done some groundbreaking deals. Now, of course, we will compare the two, Luis Ocampos and Roberto Olabe at Real Sociedad. Ocampos is like a senior guy in this role. He's worked with the likes of Mbappe to Monaco, Bernardo Silva to Monaco, Fabinho to Monaco. And of course, at that time, they were still a little bit young. But when you look at what he's done for PSG, bring the likes of Vitinha, not Ruben Neves, but Joao Neves, right? All those names, you can understand that this guy is really, really good. Now, according to Florian Plettenberg, he says that Roberto Olabe is definitely one of the concrete candidates for Arsenal to succeed EDU, as reported in the Transfer Update show 3 weeks ago. Olabe once brought Alexander Isak associated as well. The two still have an excellent relationship. The 25-year-old striker is in the list of Arsenal's striker shortlist, and of course his contract is valid until 2028. That is Florian Plettenberg. Like, again, this guy's done a very wonderful job reporting on these issues. So before we get into Isak, let's first talk about the sporting director issue and why the sporting director issue is going to be very key for Mikel Arteta getting his targets. Now, if you think about what was happening with EDU, it was very clear, it was very simple. Mikel had a very good working relationship between him and EDU. He literally just said, I want player ABC, and that player would be brought. I want this player out, and that player would be sold. That is how it worked between Mikel Arteta and EDU. Now, of course, not every sporting director is going to work like that. Not every sporting director is going to have such a relationship with the manager. And that is why Mikel Arteta has been given a specific important role, and that role is going to be to influence, or is going to I think the right word is influence who comes in as the next sporting director. He's going to work with the recruitment team to make sure that the guy that comes in is ready to work with them, but also Arteta is ready to work with the new sporting director. And there are two names that have now risen out of the dust. I mean, it was a big pool. We were talking about the likes of Monti. We're talking about the likes of Ocampos and all that. But there are only two names now that we can pin down, and that is Roberto Olabe at Real Sociedad, also Luis Ocampos at PSG. And the difference between these two is like, Ocampos is really experienced and really, really good at making these big deals happen. Olabe, on the other side, he hasn't made many big deals like happen. Of course, when you're operating at a club like like Real Sociedad, you don't have much to work with, right? I'm not saying it's not good. I'm saying Luis Ocampos is a much better fit for a project that looks to dominate European football and Premier League football for quite some time. He would be a much better player, a much better sporting director. So why Olabe, and what has he done, and who is this guy anyway? So he's the sporting director at Real Sociedad. Of course, like I said, he's going to be leaving that role come the end of this season. Now, there is still a debate whether Arsenal could get him pre-summer. That is either in December or in January. Someone asked me a very important question, and I want to answer it in this video. Can't we sign players without a sporting director? We can. Absolutely, we can. But I also want to tell you that you don't want to be run like Chelsea were run when Todd Boehly employed his scattergun approach, where he literally just went to the market and, fired bullets. Whoever was caught was brought into Chelsea. You don't want that. You want a system that allows you to bring the top talents, quality talents, and you also want a system that is going to guarantee value on value in investment. And that's why it is very, very important that we get a sporting director. A sporting director basically is the guy that is going to tell Mikel Arteta, listen, you want Adagula, but you have not yet maximized the resources you invested in Fabio Vieira. So, no, we are not going to get Adagula. Get the best out of Fabio Vieira, right? A sporting director is the guy that is going to tell Mikel Arteta, listen, you want Mikel Merino, he's 28, but let us go and get Adagula, who is 22, 23, and they play the same. He's also on your list of players that you want. You can use him for a longer period of time, and probably his contract can be amortized for a longer period of time. That is why you need a sporting director. A sporting director is like the captain of the ship in the transfer market. He's so important because imagine every manager is going to want to buy players that fulfill and satisfy his fantasies, right? Mikel Arteta, the way we know him, he's gonna go, guys, I think when I look into myself, I think that right now I need Christian Eriksen from Manchester United. I mean, this is the guy that has brought in Havertz, he's brought in Merino, he's brought in Fabio Vieira. He's got that, tendency of buying players because they fulfill his wishes. And most of the time, it works. But a good sporting director is one that would allowed us to sign Houssem Aouar when we needed him. I still believe he's a good player, by the way, right? A good sporting director is one that will challenge the beliefs of the manager in order to protect the interests of the team. So yes, you can sign players without a sporting director, but it might have repercussions that you don't want. You might end up with so many expensive players, so many expensive contracts, maybe contracts that you would have dealt away with if you had a good sporting director. So Roberto Olabe is a guy that brought Alexander Isak to Real Sociedad. But on top of that, he's worked with the likes of Alexander Soloth, really underrated, gem of a talent, Alexander Soloth. It's going to be a big prospect. He's already at Atletico Madrid. I think he's a good striker. I love him. He's worked with the likes of Mikel Merino, as obviously. He brought Odegaard as well to Real Sociedad. So he is a sporting director that literally has worked with players, and some of them are already at Arsenal. But the reason as to why Arsenal really want him, according to me, is they're looking at him and Ocampos. And Olabe has very, very good relations with Alexander Isak's club. And that's why I think, if Arsenal get Roberto Olabe as sporting director, Alexander Isak is a sure deal. We are going to follow his trail. I mean, we are not even in January, and all the reliable papers, Bild in Germany, Sky Sports Germany, they're all saying Arsenal are crazy about Isak. That's the player they want. And remember, we wanted Isak way back in 2022, 2021, you remember, January. And after missing out on Vlahovic, we went and tried to sign Alexander Isak. But I think by that time, he was very expensive and the deal didn't happen. So Olabe coming in means one or two things. One, Arsenal give up on Gyökeres and we go and fight for Isak. I mean, if the manager wants Isak, and if the manager really believes that Isak is the guy that is going to complete his attack, then so be it. Two, Olabe is going to be another EDU. And when I say another EDU is this, I think he's he's an easier target to manipulate for Mikel Arteta than Ocampos. Ocampos is this guy that has got a lot of experience and all that. And the reason that's why I wanted Ocampos is for a manager that has worked under for a sporting director that has worked with the likes of the big names. I'm trying to remember the guy at PSG right now. Okay, the name is gone. The name is gone out of my head. If you look at the caliber of managers he's worked with and the caliber of talent he's actually worked with, I think Mikel Arteta as a young manager is bound to respect Ocampos more, right, than Olabe. But again, we don't know what's going to happen. Probably Olabe comes in and he fires Mikel Arteta if things don't go right, or he corrects Mikel Arteta and things even become better. Now, Olabe and Luis Ocampos, what's the difference, right? What's the difference? I think for me, the biggest difference between sporting directors has always been the ability to negotiate, right? And the ability to get deals done. I mean, one of the things that has created a massive change at Arsenal has been Edu's brilliance in the market. Yeah. I mean, at times it's been rubbish, but at times it's been brilliant. And that has created a massive change in our squad building. Calafiori, Timber, Gabriel, Raya, Rice, Partey, Odegaard, Havertz. This Arsenal squad feels fresh, right? It feels fresh. It feels young. And even if we were to bring in 3 more players or 4 more players in the next 3 years or in the next 4 years, you can easily see that there is a blueprint. That's what a good sporting director does. And when you think about Monaco, when they were on the rise, that Monaco side that dumped us out of the UEFA Champions League under Arsene Wenger. You remember that? Kylian Mbappe, Bernardo Silva, Fabinho. I think Anthony Martial was there by that time, was he? Probably he was. Remember that Monaco team, right? Remember that Monaco team? Did they have Lemar as well? That is the work of Luis Ocampos. Now, of course, anyone is going to say, listen, Luis Ocampos has done and achieved a lot, but even Roberto Olabe has done a good job. Because if you think about Sociedad, you think about Kubo, you think about Soloth, like I said, you think about Zubimendi, you think about Merino, you think about the times when Odegaard was there, you think about the times when Isak was there. He's also built such a very good team. And he's helped in bringing Sociedad back on the map. So I would say, I think Arsenal are going to tilt towards Olabe because he's got Isak contacts, right? This is my fear. What if he can't get Isak for big money or from a bigger club? Because he was getting Alexander Isak from I think Dortmund by the time to Real Sociedad. And that is not quite difficult because he was struggling at Dortmund and the deal was not going to involve 50 million. But now he's coming to Arsenal He's got to negotiate with Newcastle to convince them that first, they should sell. And they should sell to him, a direct competitor. And thirdly, he's got to deal with, a deal that's going to involve hundreds of millions, right? I think the Isak deal will go above 100 million euros. Can he do the job? I don't know, right? But looks like Isak is the one that we are going to try to get. And the sporting director we want to bring in must be linked with Alexander Isak. You must, I don't know, the interviews are going to be, do you swear that you can bring us Alexander Isak this summer? Yes or no? I don't know. You don't have the job. Because it's as simple as that. I think Mikel is obsessed with Isak, and any sporting director that is in line with Alexander Isak's move, I think that's the guy. Honestly.